Okay, so welcome to the IEP. We're going to do the pre-game to prepare ourselves for the IEP. And the reason why I'm meeting with the parent is because they are a valuable part of the team in the decision making of the IEP plan for their student. And so thank you for being here. So the first page of the IEP is information and eligibility. And this is simply listing the personal information of your student, name, address, phone number. If this is all correct, then we will be moving on to the next form. So the next information is going to be the transition page. And what this transition page 1 is, it describes the assessments that the student has taken to prepare for their future. What kind of goals do they have in mind for life outside of high school? Do they want to attend a college? Do they want to go to a trade school? Do they want to take a year off, join the military? What kind of activities they like that would support them in this, and how we can plan out their transition goal based off of this information because they are in high school. Then transition page 2, it's basically the course of study. What it is, it lists all the classes per grade. So 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. The requirements are 3 years of English, 3 years of math, U.S. history, world history, 2 years of science, supported studies should they need a supported studies class, and it shows how many credits they've already accomplished and how many remaining credits they need to graduate, their anticipated graduation date, and then age of majority, which we discuss at the 8th grade transition, informing them of when they turn 18, they're going to be in charge of their IEPs and more of the decision-making process. Next page is present levels. And this is where it describes the students' strengths and what they prefer and what they're interested in. It also has a section of where we can discuss your parental concerns to the education process. And we can enter that in now, or we can enter it in during the IEP meeting so the student can hear your concerns and show that we're all part of this team. It also puts in the state testing, if standards were met or not when they took the last state test, which they did in 8th grade, and any other assessment data that they've taken, like when they have their triennials, they get assessed, and this is where we put all that data. If they get tested for hearing and vision, that goes in there as well from the school nurse. And their pre-academic, academic, and functional skills, which tells us what's going on with the student. And it helps us write specific goals to support them and not to make it too difficult for them to reach. It also talks about social, emotional, and behavior, vocational, and other health information. It's to give us an overall picture of the student and what direction that they're going to be going in and how we can support them as a team with their IEP and school settings. Next page is English language reclassification, which in our case really is not important because your student is proficient in English and it's their first language. Special factors. This page is where technology comes into place if the student requires speech to text, text to speech, anything in that regard to support them in test taking. If there's any other maybe physical support that they may need, but with this student, we don't really need that. Maybe text to speech and then speech to text for some of the state testing that comes up during their sophomore and junior year. Statewide assessments is the next page, and this is where we get to choose what type to have all those accommodations in place for the testing. It's literally programmed into their particular test when they sign. So English language arts testing happens grades 3rd through 8th grade and 11th grade. So we can put in there text-to-speech passages. Same with math, calculator, science. This is all for state testing. And when the year comes for that state testing, we always notify you that it's happening and what is in place for your student to support them so they can perform with this test. Goal summary page. This is where we list our goals and we also write progress reports on. So the goals are manageable and reachable goals in the specific learning areas that are a little extra difficult for your student, whether it's English language, mathematics, science, speech, transition. Every student that has an IEP has transition because we are there to help them with exploring what they want to do when they graduate high school. And this is where we also put progress reports that you will get quarterly, because that's our reporting program for our high school. And we will collect actual data from the teachers, measurable data based off of quizzes, homework assignments, communication with the teacher, and how the student performs in the classroom. And we write progress reports on this, which we mail out every quarter. And then we review these goals every year and every reporting period to make sure that the student is on track and how we can help them better if the goal just seems a little out of reach. But that is a real strong part of the IEP. Services offered by FAPE. So this page is where it lists the services that your student is receiving from the special education program, stating the options that were given and considering least restrictive environment versus complete restrictive environment. So a least restrictive environment is where your student will perform and participate in general ed classes with support of either a push-in aid or certain accommodations, which are also listed on this page. Collaboration between general education and special ed teachers on grading, having extra time to complete tests and quizzes, being able to take the tests and quizzes in a separate setting. Also modifications where if a modified grade, if they put in the effort but they just aren't reaching that grade, we will have the ability to modify it. That way the student is putting the work in and trying, but they're not being penalized because they have a challenge, not a disability, but a challenge. This is a very important because this spells out how we're helping your student. And then the next page is educational setting, where it shows that yes, they are in the general education most of the time, and it lists our school district, the high school, which he and she's attending. It also lists how much time is spent in the general education classroom and how much time is spent in special ed. So in your students' percentage time, it'll be 54% in the outside of regular class, which means it's 54% in the special ed setting, getting that extra support. But 46% of their classroom time is spent in general education. and it will state why the basic pre-algebra, practical English, supported study, speech, and transition planning, because of the disability and or the way I call it challenge, inhibits their ability to progress in school if they don't have this support. So this is very important. It shows the district how often you're going to be informed of the progress, which is quarterly, and it's through a progress summary progress report, which we send out with every report card. So you will get that in the mail. Then the next page is the signature page, and this is where when we have the IEP, that when we discuss everything, if it's agreeable and you feel that this matches your student, you sign it. Everyone in the IEP team signs it, including the students, since they are part of the team, and makes it a legal binding document. Then we have the notes page, and what we put in the notes page is, again, more of your concerns, so it's kind of duplicated back, but we list everyone who has here today, who is meeting, that you've gotten your safeguards, your parental rights on the procedures, and we can explain it if this is a little difficult to understand. It allows you to ask any kind of questions. In fact, you can ask some questions now since this is the pre-IEP meeting. It also lists your comments, any comments that you have regarding anything during the IEP, and your concerns. It lists all the teachers' comments and progress reports that we gather for the IEP, so we can stay really current on the progress. It lists that we've reviewed all the following pages that I just reviewed with you: the info eligibility, transition services 1 and 2, present levels, goals, special factors, statewide assessments, credits and graduation plans, services and education setting. And then it has at the bottom that if you have any question, that lists our director's name and phone number to where you can contact him or her. And then it also has the IEP date. So that is all the information that's in the IEP. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I'm happy to be here for you, and I look forward to the IEP with you and your student and with the rest of the teachers. Thank you.